This is the Environmental Protection Commission, regular meeting Wednesday, December 6th, 2023. First item of business is Open Space Parcel B, Great Island Road, Great Island Property Owners Association, Inc. In its capacity as and we are meeting in our capacity as a Conservation Commission for the town of Darien. And what we're going to do tonight is talk about the amendments to the terms of an existing conservation easement. Rick, or you want to give it right to Patty?
Yes, right to Patty. She'll summarize the application for you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Patricia Gowd, Patty Gowd. I'm with the law firm of Curtis Brinkerhoff and Barrett, with Wayne Fox, who's town council. And what we have on the agenda for today is the amendment to the conservation easement that the Conservation Commission was granted, I think, almost 50 years ago, in connection with the creation of a subdivision at Great Island. At the time, there were two open space parcels created, Open Space A and Open Space B. There was an existing paved drive that bisected Open Space B. And the grantor retained rights to continue to use that paved drive and also conveyed rights to anyone who would subsequently own parcels 22 and 23. The town has now bought parcels 22 and 23, and we are proposing this amendment essentially to clarify certain language that's from the conservation easement that was granted, actually 1981, so 40 years ago. The amendments, at the time that the conservation easement was granted, there was sort of typical standard language about no public dedication, meaning that they weren't creating a right in the public to go out and use that open space. They were just preserving private property as open space. But it did say that there could be authorized recreational use and that anything that was existing on the property at the time could continue to be used. So what we've done here is we've come up with an amendment in connection with the purchase of the traffic circle. And that would allow, or not even allow, it would just clarify language in that original conservation easement to make clear that the town, because it is not a private property owner, it is the public, can use that easement as the successor to those easement rights as the owners of parcels 22 and 23, and that they can bring the public in over that causeway. And that would be considered an access way from the traffic circle through parcel B onto the town-owned parcels. I have here a Google map. It gives you an overview of Great Island. And you can see here is the traffic circle. Okay. This is parcel 23 right here, the sort of finger pointing at the traffic circle. That is already owned by the town, and that's the way into parcel 23. Coming off the traffic circle at the 5 o'clock point is where the causeway is, okay? And the causeway bisects parcel B, which is here, and then continues on into, the paved drive continues on into parcel 22. That paved drive is enclosed by a stone fence too, so there's not going to be a lot of ability to go beyond that paved drive when you're coming on and off using it to get to the town parcels. So we would ask that you would approve the amendment because we see it as a clarification of language that was in the previous conservation easement, not really a change of any of the conditions in it. Does anyone have any questions?
Each of you have received that, the specifics. So I would like to get questions or comments for Patty. Bill, do you want to start?
I am good.
Okay.
Thank you for sending that last one little piece that helped me before I got here.
I'm glad it
helped.
helped.
Basically this in front of us. She sent that to me just before the meeting so I could kind of understand where the parcels were as well.
Yeah.
And,
There's another map over there by the chair, which is a survey that sort of just, highlights in blue, which I think I had sent to each of you, the portion of the open space parcel, which is the causeway. That's the causeway right there, okay? And I should clarify, there's also, with the help of Mr. Millar, there were a couple of very tiny typos in the document that was sent to you, so we've clarified that. So what you will be voting on is to also approve those typos, which are basically, there's a reference to map 4145B, which should have said B but said A. That's in the first whereas clause. There's also a change to the word associates, which should have been associated with. And then I can tell you where that is. That's on page 2 in the first full paragraph. And then in the third paragraph, there's about the fourth line down, it says the above references rights. It's now changed to above referenced rights.
Thank you, Jim. This is, as this is a legal document, it's important to get it,
Yes.
to nail it.
So that has been changed in the most recent version that we would ask you to approve. If anyone has any other questions?
Peter, anything?
No, I guess how wide is the roadway at its smallest or most narrow point, if you have any idea on that?
I believe it's been a while since I've traveled on it, and I've never measured it personally. I know we have had surveyors do
Was
that.
it one car width?
It's about a car width, I would think, a little bit wider than a car width.
I think it's 18 feet,
Okay.
but we envision that to be a one-way, this causeway.
Yeah, that was all we're talking tonight about is this document to open it up to the public, which is essentially what you're doing. If they were to expand the causeway at any point in time, that would be a future application, and we debate that at its on its merits when it arrives.
Yeah, there is no request to expand it at this point.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I'm conceptually in agreement with the application. Thank you.
I would take a word, Patty, that you've used in my observation. It's a clarification of something that's already in place, and I'm very strongly in favor.
Good,
No questions.
Lauren?
No questions.
thank you.
Good.
I would ask that you then, approve the amendment so that we can proceed with it. Thank you.
Okay. Jim, I have a motion.
I make a motion to approve the amended and restated conservation easement with respect to open space parcel B of the Great Island Road, Great Island Property Owners Association.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right, thank you. Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Okay, moving on to new business, EPC 33-2023, 19 Brush Island Road, M. Gaudino, to construct a fixed pile-supported pier with steps and removable floating dock in and approximate to Holly Pond and other areas of resource. The property lies along the north side of Brush Island Road, approximately 1,200 feet west of Nearwater Lane, as identified as map number 56, lot number 20. The zone is R1, and it is approximately 2.165 acres. Rick?
Mr. Chairman, the application has made its way to the agenda this evening for acceptance of the application or to mark the start of the review process. Staff has, and to enable the commission, if it sees fit to, determine if a public hearings need to weigh the application itself, the merits of the application. Again, it is for to construct a fixed pile-supported pier with a floating dock on a piece of property that the commission has seen previously for a pool and some other activities over the past 15 years or so. Over the past 15 years or so, staff has inspected the site. We'll be compiling an abbreviated list of information necessary for I feel that the commission needs to move forward with the application. As you probably can guess, it's on Holly Pond, the property, and this commission regulates 100 feet from the edge of Holly Pond, but it also has special flood hazard areas and tidal wetlands on the property as well that will also have this project go before planning and zoning as well. So with that, I can take your questions, comments, that I can make sure that I incorporate into our letter in our request for information to be held at a hearing or meeting at a future date.
Anyone?
Just a couple, and you, maybe they've already been covered, is the lighting issue. Hopefully there's no lights down on the dock area. That would be troublesome. There is a high grade to come down to the dock, and I don't know how they're going to bring themselves, when they walk down, hopefully it's a natural type of grade that would come down, not some kind of a developed grade, because it is a very natural area there. And any trees I wouldn't think would be in the way, but that would just be my other comment.
Nothing to add except to amplify the comment on the lights. I would hope there are no lights on it.
I have no further questions, Eric.
I have a couple things. So this has already been approved by the Connecticut Department of Energy and Environmental Protection?
Pier.
The pier?
I believe so.
So I was wondering if we could just get clarification on the size, because in their approval, which is dated October 2023, they mentioned that the fixed pier is 4 feet by 14 feet, but in the proposed general plan and in the elevation that they included, it says 4 by 11. I mean, that's a small thing, but we should clarify the its size. And then it also mentions the float stops under the that prevent the float from resting on the bottom of the low water. It says that in the state's approval, they say that if they're diminished or they don't work, that the whole apparatus is it can't work anymore. So I'm just wondering, is there going to be a maintenance plan for checking to make sure that those are the way that they should be? And also, will there be any excavated material when they put in when the pilings are installed, and if so, how will it be handled? And my last question is, is it, I assume it's since it's already approved by the state, it's built to withstand floodwaters? So that's all I have.
I just wanted to know, well, I didn't see anywhere if they were removing any trees or plants. I don't know if that was called out or if I missed it, or,
No, we just want
okay.
to make it clear.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it's a clarification, so when Rick
Yeah.
goes out and does it, he has a point to come back and tell us, are they gonna follow the natural grade, and in doing so, are any trees gonna be,
Yeah.
removed, added, et cetera,
Or
et cetera?
plants, yeah.
That was the point, and I think that point, your point will be clarified, because
Okay.
that's a very good
Good.
one.
And I actually just had a question for us. When I saw that this was next to Darien Land Trust, when one of the applicants is, up against an environmental, either the land trust or another group outside of a public hearing, do we ever just verify and speak with them about their position?
If it's a public hearing,
No, outside of a public hearing.
Outside of a public
I
hearing.
mean,
Rick, I don't think so.
I mean, not likely, but there will be a public hearing, when it goes to planning and zoning. So they'll have to send notices under.
to land, okay.
Yeah.
Just curious. And were they also going to submit a planting plan? Would that be one of the recommendations as well for this? I know they're just
Yeah.
doing the float, but I didn't see a planting
I
plan.
think
so.
when we approved one a couple months ago,
Yeah.
they had
They
some
had one,
plantings.
yeah.
See what they're
Okay.
gonna do.
The only thing I can say about the one a couple of months ago is the planting plan was part of an overall development scheme that
Okay.
was
Yeah.
also on there.
Weren't they removing Phragmites or something? Wasn't there something about removing some things too?
No, no, not
okay.
that one.
Oh,
But they had, on the one that was just on the property, kind of next door, down the
So you're
block,
saying
right?
it's because of
Okay.
the overall development of the property?
Right,
not
they had a real
because-
extensive planting plan, and on that one, the concept was, what was the impact of the dock on our mitigation scheme, the nearby drainage, and they were able to demonstrate that they could negotiate around those particular items.
okay. Good.
I haven't seen it yet, but, I mean, it might not hurt to have some plans. but-
Yeah, I went out there today.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's opportunity.
Good.
Good questions.
Okay, anybody else? Okay, let's move on to the next item of new business. EPC 34-2023, 12 Musket Lane. A. Gorodetsky and E. Gorodetsky to construct a residential addition proximate to wetlands and watercourses. The property lies along the north side of Musket Lane, approximately 450 feet east of Raymond Street, and is identified as map number 33, lot number 5-6. Zone is R1/2, and it is approximately 0.532 acres. Rick?
Similar to the last application, it's the start of the process. It's a residential addition on an existing single-family dwelling. Goodwives, a reach of the Goodwives River is on or approximate to the property, narrow riparian wetlands, special flood hazard areas. The application has made its way to the agenda this evening to document the start of the review process and to allow for the commission to decide if they desire a public hearing on this particular application. I've been to the site. I'll be generating a list of information needed to move forward, outlining issues that need to be addressed through the process. And I'm certainly available to entertain your comments as well, to ensure that we have a complete review.
Mm-hmm. Lauren, do you have any questions or comments for Rick?
I just wanted to, I guess, understand a little bit more about the rain garden and the maintenance on that.
I gotta they will be going without the rain garden.
Oh.
So they've submitted documentation that, and is currently under review by the town's consulting peer reviewer, that they may not construct the rain garden. They may not have to. In terms of a drainage attenuating element, they may be doing something alternative you'll see in the next week or so to attenuate water quality elements. But I can, if they intend to pursue the rain garden, absolutely, that's a critical part, is the maintenance.
Mhm.
And along those lines, I wanted to see if there was going to be a planting plan. I guess that's probably already in the works. And then for the maintenance plan that was in there, I have a pet peeve of using the word recommend versus require. If they could just change it to, you are required to do these things at a certain frequency instead of recommend. That's it.
Are you done?
Yep.
Oh.
Sorry.
That's okay. I would just say I did have a little bit of a difficult time following this plan because a lot of the documents are not what they are stated to be.
Yeah.
For example, the project narrative turned out to be the drainage site plan, which also appeared in 2 other locations. I just found it a little bit difficult. It would have been nice to have had a project narrative.
Was that just confusion on input, Rick?
Yes.
Somebody did,
We don't install those on there. It's the applicant's responsibility to install them in the right catalog.
Right. And they weren't.
Okay,
Yeah.
is there some way we can
They're gonna have to work
require them to?
They're gonna have to reorganize. That was on my list as well.
Yeah, no, it was confusing because you would open something up and, you're like, well, it was something you had seen twice before and under different headings. So I just did have a little bit of difficulty following what was going on because of the disorder of the documents. But similar to Lauren, I had questions about the rain garden and the drainage and how that was going to work in relation to they mentioned the weir, and I just wanted a little bit more explanation on the drainage plan.
Yes.
And that's all I have.
Jim?
Well, these two commissioners on my left cover everything that might
That's
have
amazing.
come up for me.
I just had a question on the proposed addition and what the foundation was going to be. Was it going to be on a slab, or was there proposed to be a semi-basement or full basement? That was it.
I can note that the dwelling and the addition are not in the flood zone. So again, there will be some clarifying points on their plans to more clearly demonstrate that it is not in the flood zone.
Okay.
So that should make it a bit easier.
Thank you.
Well, have they done a perk test? Or,
I don't believe
well,
so.
let's put it this way. The next meeting when we review this, I would like to have a perk test. And the level of the basement, you know, that discussion, that's my thing.
Yeah.
So, some pumps.
It's beautiful 5 Mile River section there.
Yeah.
You're looking down over.
It is beautiful.
So the lawn comes pretty close to that. But I need some clarification, because when I look at the survey, it looks like the property line is a good 20 feet from the bank of that river. Is that land trust property that borders in front of them as well? Because when I look at this one, it's obvious, you see where the property line is, and then it's another at least 20 some odd feet to the bank drop off. And then the land trust is off to the left, and I'm wondering if land trust has a piece that slots in front of them.
You can check that out, but I think it is privately held by the property owner on the other side,
On the other side?
on the other side of the river.
Interesting. Oh, that's it.
That's weird.
And
So,
it's Norwalk.
Yeah.
that is it.
Oh,
Yeah.
See, it's kind of weird, but
That's very-
the 5 Mile River has changed its stream over time. And so there's a road. When everybody tells me they think they know Darien, I go, okay, tell me where Carolyn Court is. And so nobody knows where it is. Because you actually have to pass over the 5 Mile River on Old Kings Highway North, and then take the first right, and take the first right, and that's Carolyn Court. That's Darien. And it was part of Darien originally because it was on this side of the river, but the river changed its course. So it's one of those weird things.
It brings up
It's
a
shown as
question.
both.
What was it? Was it
It's both-
shown?
It's both a private property owner and it's his land trust.
So that brings up a very interesting question. This individual probably cuts that lawn, maintains that lawn, and it drops right into the river without any kind of much of a berm to prevent our usual pesticides fertilizer. And yet it's not his property. How do we adhere to him doing something to,
Well, I
put a
guess-
little planting area there to prevent his lawn? Well, it's not really his lawn,
Right.
but that lawn from
But
going in.
but it's interesting, how does can he possess that? Mr. Lawyer, can he possess that through adverse possession?
Open notorious 15 years.
Yeah, just curious, because
He's been cutting it for 15 years, is it his? In any case, that's a good one, Rick. Have fun with that one. Jeez. Wow, Norwalk property, yeah.
You have January 3rd, till January 3rd.
That's good. Okay.
But by the way, that's another good question, is Darien land trust subject to adverse possession? So,
Hopefully they go around every 5 years and stake it or do some walk about it or write a notice to the owner.
but just something I haven't really thought about.
More importantly, can the Norwalk person have a town of Darien dump sticker because they've got property on Darien side?
No, because it's Norwalk property. Anyway, but on the contrary,
Never
over
mind.
on the Norotan River,
sorry, I
side,
opened that up.
there's a piece on the Stamford side that is actually Darien.
Okay, there you go. Flip flop. River.
Anyway.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, does anybody else have anything? All right, sorry, okay.
Sweet. So-
Sorry, you wanted to go?
But who actually owns it, both? I'm
I think
sorry.
there's a piece and a piece.
I think there's a
Oh,
piece of
okay,
piece.
oh, okay, good. Okay.
So there's two
Got
pieces
it.
of land there, so. Okay, old business, EPC 24-2023, 21 Indian Spring Trail, T. Anthony and B. Anthony, to maintain a stone footbridge and install restoration landscaping in and approximate to the wetlands and watercourses. Property lies along the south side of Indian Spring Trail, approximately 1,585 feet east of Hollow Tree Ridge Road, and is identified as map number 2, lot 54B-2. The zone is R2, and it is approximately 2.42 acres. Rick?
Mr. Chairman, you have before you tonight is a draft resolution. Staff was directed to draft a resolution on this application. Just very, very briefly, it had started off as activities that had encroached within regulated areas, mostly landscaping activities, removal of some de minimis vegetation, no large trees, but the construction of this small stone pedestrian footbridge over, and it was a replacement. There had been a little wooden pedestrian bridge, and it had been replaced with a stone bridge. The applicant had been called in, and through an application process, we had called for the restoration of those areas, and also they're seeking to maintain that small bridge. The original application had provisions for a pool house and some other improvements on the property. They had since withdrawn that portion of it, and are focusing on restoring the property. And if you recall, the application was vetted at last month's meeting, in which they demonstrated that de minimis changes in grade. They came up with an extensive replanting plan. They got an engineer to certify the integrity of the bridge and to also demonstrate that it would not be adversely impacting the watercourse, that there was sufficient dimension to it that allowed for the free and clear passage of stormwater. Also pertinent to their application and their mitigation plan was, removing obstructions in the stream and any accumulated debris, et cetera. With that, I had drafted this resolution with conditions of approval and including timeframes for supervised implementation of the planting plan by June of next year. Available to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments?
None for me. No?
I had just one operating, really just a more of a practical, and it's to the point you just mentioned, Rick. You wanted to see this work take place by June of next year, yet we're issuing a 5-year permit.
I feel it's appropriate to have a limitation on this because it's to restore a property, restore a regulated area.
His question, I think, is why don't we pull the 5 years down and shorter? Make it.
Yeah, I'm kind of on a fence. I'm trying to figure out what is the right way to think.
We
You got
generally
a 5-year permit, but you need to get this done
by June.
10 months from now, or
Yeah, I
whatever
think,
that
but the
is.
regulations say that the permits are good for 5 years,
Okay,
but you can condition anything within the context of that
all
permit.
right.
So I think I would leave it the way it is with the 5-year effective period, but the condition of it says you have to finish it by June 1st and certify it as such.
Okay, so that's it, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Karen?
Yeah, so one of the conditions was that a Connecticut engineer had to confirm that the stone bridge was structurally sound and that it would not adversely impact drainage or flows in the channel. And in your approval, you reference that was accomplished, but I didn't see any of the document hadn't been uploaded to us. So as long as...
It's in the file.
Okay, so as long as you have it and you're happy with it, I'm
Yep.
happy with it.
Yep.
I think it's Wayne Devonzo from Fairfield County Engineering.
He needs to upload that.
Yeah, and I just didn't see it,
Yeah,
so
that's good for complete record.
Okay, great. That's all I have.
And did they upload a new planting plan as well? Because I think all that was in there was the old one.
They should have. They're responsible for doing so, but we did get a revised planting
You
plan.
did? Okay, I mean, same
And what they did is
thing
they
then,
actually
because I didn't
bolstered some
see.
of the ground covers in lieu of meadow. They decided not to do the meadow and the maintenance
Because they didn't want to mow
Okay.
it, or
They didn't want to do
the mowing?
we have more of a structured maintenance program for
Right.
meadows. So they've expanded some of the ground covers in lieu of it.
But she's right, the last time it had the old planting plan,
Yeah.
only showing it on one side of the water course, so.
Right.
Yeah, they should.
Yeah, that's
upload.
been, that was.
Okay. As long as you've
Yep.
seen it and you're satisfied,
Yep.
I
Right,
agree, I
same.
agree, but I don't,
No, we're
I
good.
didn't see
on
it. Okay,
Okay.
Okay.
yep.
Jim, may I have a motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve the conditional, the permit to conduct regulated activities, for EPC number 24-2023 with respect to 21 Indian Spring Trail.
I would second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next piece of old business is EPC 2823, 42 Delafield Island Road, J. Pittrack and S. Pittrack to install a new drainage system, grading and other related features proximate to the wetlands. Drainage is associated with the construction of a new in-ground pool, septic system, and related facilities. The property lies along the west side of Delafield Island Road, approximately 675 feet north of Red Coat Pass, and is identified as map number 64, lot 100. The zone is R1, and it is approximately 1.2 acres.
Mr. Chairman, this application has been withdrawn, and the reason being is that the applicant, on his own, explored alternatives to the design, which dramatically reduced the scope of the project, and in fact removed all the encroachments from regulated areas. They didn't have to do the drainage, the retaining walls, the impact on the driveway. They didn't have to tear up his existing driveway. So that is currently being in its
But he
final-
still wants, but he's still putting in a pool?
He's put it in a pool, but it's been modified, and he still has
Yeah,
to move
it-
parts of his septic system, but it is probably less than 50% of the scope of the original proposal, and
Good.
does not involve any regulated area, so they determined to withdraw the application.
Good. Good, no action needed.
So probably hats off to Rick for helping him through that.
The next item of business is CPC 29. No, we don't need a motion, it's withdrawn. Yeah.
Sorry.
Wait, you feel getting anxious about the motions? EPC 2923, 2023, 55 Pembroke Road, M. Bismeyer Trust and D. Carl, to install a deer fence, remove invasive plants, and install a collection of native trees, shrubs, and ground covers in and proximate to wetlands and watercourses. Property lies along the north side of Pembroke Road, approximately 1,625 feet east of Mansfield Avenue, and is identified as map number 1, lot 6. The zone is R2, and it is approximately 1.95 acres.
Mr. Chairman, the applicant proposes to install a deer fence and at the rear of the property, essentially to remove invasive plantings, and has come up with a fairly comprehensive re-landscaping plan for those portions of the site replanted with native plantings. The commission, during its initial review, outlined many of the issues and concerns that would be common to projects of this type. Those were put in a letter, and the applicant has responded back. The property itself had been, if you do a historical review of the records, has been before the EPC some number of times, ranging from when they built the house to the installation of the pool to doing tree planting and tree removals, more so with the prior owner of the property. What's probably most pertinent to this review was the pool application, which allowed for the installation of the in-ground pool, spa, patio space to the rear of the property, adjoining the small water course that's on this property, and adjoining the wetlands. There was an extensive replanting plan that was done, or planting plan that was supplied at that time, and it was drainage as all part of this. So there was a pretty massive and comprehensive review of this application. Under this current application, the applicant is, again, proposing to basically to other side of the watercourse, away from the property, to do vine removal and the replanting of that space. So the plan is there. It has a terrific collection of native tree shrubs and ground covers that are proposed to be installed. They intend to remove a lot of this all by hand, and to treat without treatment with pesticides, to do mechanical removal of some of those invasives that are there. There is some expansion of the planting to the, let's just call it the landward side closest to the house as well. And per the direction of the commission, in a space that is currently lawn, they've gone back and added planting in those particular areas as well. They provide an erosion control plan in the event that the installation and the activities disturb the land and protect the resource. But most of the focus of this particular project relates to the deer fence. And the applicant has, and if you notice in the submittals that they made, they have explored alternatives to your traditional deer fence. They've looked at a full range of things that were, less intrusive. They have decided to go with a fence along the perimeter to help these plants get a head start. But they have contacted, interestingly enough, an installation contractor that is cognizant of the issues associated with installing deer fences in regulated areas. So he has come up with a plan that, and Ms. Bain had hit on those many times before with these applications, is that they have a fence that is along the perimeter, that involves little or no excavation, that involves wood posts, 10-foot wood posts that are basically driven into the ground with the use of low-impact machinery. They're spaced fairly regularly, but at larger intervals, like a 20-foot interval. And the actual fence material itself is unusual in that it's a gradation to it with opening size that will keep the deer out, but allow for small critters to maneuver back and forth, but also allow for storm water to pass freely. So it is an interesting, very different from what we've seen more recently. They intend to do it over a very short period of time, and they use low-impact machinery and manpower to do so. They show and have outlined a route of access, and they will cross the water course. They're going to take 10 of these timbers, place them across the water course. They walk the machine across. They do their work and are on their way. The other thing that's important here is that the fences will not cross the water course on the property. They are pulling it back to allow for the free passage of stormwater in the channel. So with that, and again, if you took and you scrutinized the plan, it's a very good planting plan that they're applying to those spaces, and they will serve in some instances remove manicured lawn, but it's introducing and reintroducing a native planting to a space that is fairly overgrown and peppered with invasive vines and ground covers. Through this process, it'll affect about 9,600 square feet of the wetland, 10 linear feet of the watercourse, and 40 square feet of the upland review area. But they've also reported that about almost 7,000 square foot, 6,700 square feet is being restored with the native planting. They also have a basic maintenance, post-installation maintenance plan too has been provided. So the owner's here, and Sarah McCool's here to answer your questions.
You want to go first?
Sure. Demarcation between the grass lawn area and this. In the 2012 plan, there was boulders and other things. And in the narrative, the boulders are still there, but I don't see them on your plan. Are they on there?
Yes, they are here, 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 here,
Okay,
and one there.
they are there. Okay, good.
They
I
are
could-
there.
I couldn't see it on this one.
I'm
Maybe-
sorry.
Maybe it wasn't labeled, maybe, I don't know, I couldn't see it. But
No,
get glasses.
I have to admit,
I've got glasses.
I didn't label them as rocks, but
Okay.
they, actually, we were surprised when we looked at the information from 2013.
Okay.
We said, what boulders? And then when I measured it, I said, they're there.
Yes, so it does bring up a question. So the boulders aren't that prominent, right? So
No, none of that. Well, a few of them are probably, they're mostly buried. I think they were probably existing there. The ones that were added, I would say that were probably 2 by 2.5 feet. They're not that big.
So the other thing I could ask is, in doing this project, if we could make it very easy that we could always see that demarcation line into the future with boulders or whatever you want to use, that the next owner or whatever won't be creeping into that area. We'd hate to have it happen. So that's all I could ask.
Actually, we're not going to even touch that area at all. That already has the rocks on it.
We're also maintaining the fence at this point.
Okay, that fence is coming down. Right.
At this point, it's staying.
Well,
Maybe at a
it
future
sounded
date.
like in the near future, if it all works well, it's coming down, according to the deer. Right?
If the deer fence works well, then the fence will come down, the pool
Right.
fence will come down.
So that's back to my original, as long as those boulders are prominent for you in the future, because there won't be a fence there, that's all I'm asking, that the lawn doesn't creep. So
Okay.
if maybe you need to beef that up, maybe you don't, but try to make it so. If you can't see the boulders now because they're kind of buried, they need
No,
to
they're not buried. It's just, we sort of looked at the plants and looked past them.
be. Okay.
They're prominent enough.
All right. That's all I have.
No questions.
I recommend 55 Pembroke Road as the gold standard for how you present it.
Yeah, that's a really good point. The deer fence is, never heard of it like that, and I'm into it. And so if we can get that internet address or the name of the company, et cetera, so that when the next applicant comes, we could say, hey,
Go look at
Hey,
55 Pembroke.
please consider this and come back and we have when we come back with, have you considered alternatives? And we say, have you considered that fence? And they have to have an excuse not to use it, because I think that fence is, that fence as you described is, that's pretty cool. So,
We do have a sample, but we didn't bring it. I don't know if it helps if I give it to you, but
just for future applications, because when I heard about this fence, I was like, wow, that's really nice, and I'd like future applicants to apply best practices, and I believe that to be a best practice. So I don't know how everybody else feels here, but I think that's a really nice fence. Anyway, sorry to.
not every fence company is capable of putting it up, so they have to sort of know about it a little early to be prepared for you. This fence company, he does all the fencing for the orchards in the state of Connecticut. So that's how I knew of it, and then we followed up on it.
Oh, interesting. Good for you. Phil?
Yeah, a couple things. Rick, could you just clarify that the plan from 2012, 2013, that the planting plan was restricted more to the brookside, closer to the house? And so, in other words, it's not this overgrown invasive area it's not that it wasn't tended and this is the state of it. This was not part of that plan,
When I pulled the
correct?
file and looked at it, they were doing minimal activities on the other side. I think they did some like vine removal and those, but the significant portion of the planting was around the perimeter of the pool and also on
Okay.
the sides of the
Because I was going to say,
the dwelling.
in 10 years, I wouldn't expect it to be this, overgrown with invasives, but this wasn't part of that.
It was not extensively planted
Okay.
on that far side of the brook.
Okay, that's what I thought. I'm not a huge fan of deer fences to begin with, but you weren't here at the when we accepted your application, but I really love applications where wetlands are being restored, where invasives are being removed and native plants are being put in. I love that idea. And I noticed that a lot of the plants that you're putting in are deer resistant to begin with, which is good. The fence is to keep the deer out, but it seems that some of your plantings are deer resistant to begin with, so that's good. I just wanted to, for the record, verify that the invasives are going to be removed by hand and there's not going to be the use of glyphosate, because I think it was in one of the project narratives. But in Rick's report to us, it says it's all being done by hand, which is, what I would not like the use of glyphosate in a sensitive wetland area. And then I was wondering if you could also just talk about about the fence. Yes, thank you so much. As I said, I'm not a big fan of deer fences, but the fact that the posts are being spaced by 20 feet as opposed to 10 feet, the fact that there is a room underneath for woodland animals to get through, and also the fact that the poles are not, the ground is not being excavated, poles put in and concrete put in, that they're being pounded into the ground. I agree with my colleague that it's like a model for how deer fences should be put in. But I was just wondering if you could give a little explanation on the machinery that's being used to put them in.
They're going to use a Kubota, it's a small track machine.
Okay.
It's got 4 pounds per square inch on
Okay.
the weight
Because I
on
saw
it.
the picture of it and it looks big.
I know it's only 3 feet wide,
Okay.
and it is, the length is 84 inches, which is
Okay.
like 6 feet. That's the length with a bucket on it.
Okay.
But he's not using a bucket, he's using a pounder,
Okay, so just using it for the height to get up there. Okay.
to pound in the posts.
Okay. Nope, that's all I have. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I too just want to stress that I don't like deer fences either. But if we have to do a deer fence, then we have to, and then this is the better alternative. I do agree, but if we don't have to do it in the first place, better. So I think that should be our standard going forward. One of the alternatives I think that I saw that you considered was the automatic sprinklers. Why didn't those work?
My irrigation company said they don't do it, and they don't have a mechanism to attach it to our current irrigation system.
Well, that's funny. I have them at my house.
Do they work in the wintertime?
No, I take them out in the wintertime.
Because you usually, around now, it's frost.
Yeah, I just did it.
It's frost, so you have to
Yeah.
blow out your sprinkler system.
Yeah.
And so therefore, you can't use your sprinkler system to chase away the deer because.
In the winter.
In the winter.
Yeah.
But, if your dog goes out or something like this and you want to chase away deer, well, he goes out in the
I
winter.
say,
too.
Alexa, turn off the sprinkler system.
No, but the problem is if the wire if the little tubes freeze underneath the ground, and that could be, then you have a significant bill in the springtime because your sprinkler system's leaking.
So is that the reason why? Because it doesn't work in the winter?
Because of freezing. And most deer damage is in March. And that's too cold still.
Okay.
Okay.
Mine seem to work for the most part, just for fun.
Yeah, she looked into motion-activated
tried all
sprinklers, but that works.
I looked into individual ones as well that wouldn't.
The
tie into
enforcers?
irrigation system. They were just like separate ones that you.
Yeah,
could
that's
put
what I have.
around. But I couldn't figure out how to get a water source to it, how to get power to it, and how to keep that running in a perimeter of this size, where they were kind of on their own.
Yeah.
So that was the challenge with that, but.
Yeah, my husband was able to figure that out. I'm not going to pretend that I did that, but he did.
But it is,
There is a way. Where there's a will, there's a way. But you know, I'm just.
but that's a very large area.
Yeah,
to
my
set
property's
up.
an acre.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there any more discussion on this? No?
Okay, can I just say one more
Please,
thing, Eric?
please.
So with regard to again, the removal of the invasives,
Yes.
I appreciate that you described, I think it was the applicant who described how there would be follow-up, so it's not like one and done, because a lot of invasives are very, as you know, very difficult to eradicate, and they may come back. So I appreciate that you included, you referred to how you would take care of them and check for them in the future and remove them.
The roses, generally, when you take them out, they're done. The Phragmites,
Yeah, they're tough.
they're the hard ones.
Yeah.
You dig them, and then you just have to watch to see if they
Right.
reappear. The stilt grass is an annual,
Oh,
so
yeah.
that, we're too late this year. There are seeds on the ground,
Yeah.
so it will be back up again.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to pull it out, which it pulls
Yeah,
like
easy.
nothing.
Yeah,
But we have to do it before it sets seed again.
yeah, yeah.
And there's a lot of stilt grass in there. The wisteria, we're gonna just have to cut it up as high as we possibly can. And I would love to be able to do it sooner than later, because I really don't want it to sprout leaves. We're gonna cut it back, and we're gonna have to dig up the roots. It's been a problem. It's damaged and destroyed a number of trees.
Wow. That's terrible. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Great job in looking at all the alternatives and coming up with an excellent plan. Okay. Moving on, we've got approval of minutes, October 19th, 2023 of the special meeting. All the commissioners should have received a draft of that. I assume it's gotten the Jim Millard editing checks?
I did send some comments.
I got about 40 pictures to edit things. He was,
Well, that's because that's the number of pages you've sent out.
yes, I know.
I noticed a couple, but I knew that.
Oh, he
Yeah,
caught,
you
would
he
catch
caught
them.
absolutely everything.
Jim.
I knew you would catch them.
Great, any questions or comments on those minutes?
So we have eligible, this is for October 19th?
Yes.
So, Eric, no, Irvin's not here. So, Ms. Payne, Mr. McGinnis, Mr. Wright, and Mr. Yostin.
Yep. Okay. I have a motion to approve?
Jim,
Members
he's
not
not
present?
voting.
Oh, but you can approve the motion. You can recommend the motion, right? Why not? All right, you want to recommend the
I'll
motion?
go through the motion, sure. Move to approve the minutes from October 19, 2023 special meeting EPC.
Second.
Second, thank you. Thanks for waiting. All in favor?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Next item of business is approval of minutes for November 1st, 2023, regular meeting. Jim, I'm sure you did your edit checks on that?
It was a few pages less, but still thorough on Rick's part, and I was able to send him my comment.
Okay, everybody got them? So, any questions or comments?
Only Mr. Wright was not eligible to vote.
Okay, Jim, you want?
Yes, I'm pleased to make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of the Environmental Protection Commission for November 1, 2023.
Second that motion?
Great, all in favor? Thank you. Okay, agent approval, EPC 3223, 2023, 220 Mansfield Avenue, Sameme, to maintain fill installed proximate to wetlands, watercourses, and special flood hazard areas. The property lies along the east side of Mansfield Avenue. approximately 470 feet south of Buttonwood Lane, and is identified as map number 10, lot number 53. The zone is R1, and it is approximately 1.0179 acres. And this is an agent approval.
Mr. Chairman, I had reviewed this under our agent approval process. The applicant had permission to do work on this property, constructing around pool drainage and some grading. Administratively, they provided a plan that demonstrated that all activities could be maintained outside of the 100-foot regulatory setback from the Goodwives River, outside of wetlands, outside the special flood hazard area, inspections by staff. During the review, the follow-up and review process confirmed that some of the fill that was only solely fill that came from the excavation had been installed on the property and regraded, and some of that fell within the upland review area. The applicant was given the opportunity to either remove the fill or to file an application to maintain the fill. They came back and obviously have made that application to maintain the fill. It's about 100 cubic yards of material, up to 3 feet in depth. It's no less than 52 feet to wetlands, 71 feet to the Goodwives River. It's about 2,600 square feet of the upland review area is impacted. They had a professional engineer review it. He has confirmed its stability, the absence of impact on drainage in the adjoining properties. I also wanted to ensure that it was completely outside of the special flood hazard areas, which would trigger the need for a more detailed analysis. In response to the the initial comments by the commission members, when it was acknowledged for receipt, that a planting plan was provided as well for the edge of the river in areas in need of some attention. Right now, there's lightly wooded space and some scrub down along the edge of the river, and they have provided mostly shrub cover and some New England seed mixed. There's about 12 and 5, about 15 or 18 shrubs that are being proposed in bare spaces in that area. With that, staff has prepared conditions of approval that provide for the supervised installation of those plantings, again identified in the same vein as the last application, June 1st, 2024, complete and certified as such. There's no other activity that needs to be completed. They have verified the completion. They have some minor updates on the as-built that have to be provided, but in general, the drainage has been successfully installed, and the space around the pool graded successfully to ensure consistency with its design plan.
Any questions or comments from the commissioner?
It's another beautiful section of the Goodwives River. If you look down over there.
Yep.
So it's great that you got some more ground cover along there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's nice.
Can I ask a question, Rick? So in your approval, you state that a compliance inspection conducted on August 21st, 2023 resulted in a determination that although the pool drainage and other features had been completed in quote-unquote substantial compliance with the approved plans, what wasn't in compliance, and because we spend a lot of time going through these things with a fine-tooth comb, and if they're not building them in compliance.
Well, that's why we do inspections now
Right.
and more vigorously than.
But it's nothing worrisome
Previously?
that would have to come back to the commission,
Well, that's
other
what-
than this one
no,
thing.
It was just, the pool company took the fill excavated and placed some of it on the property.
Yeah,
So, let me trigger the need for an application. The drainage, they have to do some minor modifications to the drainage, cementing up, verification about the elevation of the overflows and those kinds
so
of
all
things.
things that can be completed and will make it in complete compliance with what was approved.
Right, so all the technical, all the field elements
Yeah.
have been completed. They have to update the final as-built. So we have an accurate record of full compliance.
So when they got the approval to put the pool in, what was, I mean, it must have been thought through, like there's going to be all this fill from digging the pool. Was it not thought of or discussed at the time what was going to happen to all of that fill?
I mean, the original intent was for them
To haul it out?
To haul it out.
Okay.
And they didn't.
Okay.
They didn't import any fill.
Yeah.
It was just the pool material.
Right, okay, all right.
And not that it's correct, because they should have exported it. but
Yeah,
they-
right.
They left it there and they graded it and they stabilized it. And that was not problematic. The problematic is it triggered the need for a permit.
Right, I understand, okay. That's all I have.
Okay, great. There's no other business there. There's been some communication about a special meeting in December. Okay, basically, we have not received the application yet because the applicant doesn't own the property. So you can't apply for something that you don't own, okay? So when the applicant, being the town of Darien, owns the piece of property, once it's approved by the RTM, the RTM being the final step, we are expecting to receive an application to do some stuff at that point in time. We have to have a special meeting so we can accept it, okay? We can accept it and we can determine then, once I see the application, I can, we can see the scope of what they're asking for because, and maybe you know more about this, but the question is, do we need a public hearing given that there's going to be public hearings in Park and Rec, Planning and Zoning, et cetera, Board of Finance. So, and for where their scope is much greater than our little area. So I just want the members to think about that one. And, once we see the application, we can determine if there's a public hearing. Rick, do you have any more further information?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, they were originally anticipating coming in for this meeting to start the process, but they had to wait some number of days before they could move forward. So they talked about having a public hearing. I don't know if it's going to happen. I'll find out over the next couple of days. If not, it'll be at the January 3rd meeting.
No, well, we have to accept the application to hear it January 3rd.
No, but I don't know if in fact they will be submitting.
Okay.
For the third, I'll have to verify over the next few days, and then the opportunity to come up with some of the information we would need to move forward, and then you can schedule, if you so choose, to have a public hearing or to hear just plain discussion at the January 3rd meeting. But the details are not, available yet.
Once we get the deal, Rick will be coordinating with the commissioners to get an available date and time that's convenient for everybody here. So, but it's.
So the correspondence, if I may, are between Rick.
We don't know yet.
So the December 13th suggestion sounds like it's off.
Is that off now?
No, we don't know yet.
Don't know, okay.
I don't know. I'll find out probably tomorrow.
Originally, we thought things would happen and we could have the meeting on December 13th. I honestly don't know what happened, but Jeremy and Rick talked to me about saying they can't do it on the 13th for whatever legal reason, so it has to be at some other point in time.
Okay.
So it's not going to be
Not on the
the
13th.
We don't
So
know.
the
We don't
13th
know
is clear.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but listen, keep it on the calendar, as a question mark. And
Keep it on.
Okay.
Whatever happens, Rick will confirm to you in an email that says, hey, we either are meeting or are not meeting, so that you guys can, we can,
And for acceptance, it's generally no more than 5 minutes worth of.
Yeah, I was going to say, if we do meet, it's just to accept the application.
Yes.
There's no discussion.
No testimony, no discussion.
No discussion at all.
no, the discussion will be January 3rd. Because
Yeah.
typically, I know you like to get your boots wet.
Virtually then?
I got it.
Talked about it, but if you want to.
Because then we'll be able to go visit the
wanna
place,
come
et cetera,
here?
et cetera.
On a workday at 10 a.m.?
I got one more item.
Fantastic.
So I don't know if you all get the Town of Darien
Yeah, that's
newsletter
true. I
that
make
comes
that.
out on
Yeah.
the computer all the time. So in the November one, they gave a plug for don't throw your leaves in the wetlands. You guys read that? That was
Wait,
impressive.
who gave a plug?
So this, do you get, this say, once you sign up for this,
What
it
is that?
comes
What is
every
that?
week or every 2 weeks.
Oh, it's
From the town of Darien.
That newsletter from the first one.
Yeah.
Oh, the email.
Yeah.
This
Oh,
is
yeah, yeah,
Monica's
yeah. Okay.
piece,
Yeah,
but in the
yeah.
end there, you know, halfway through, it says, if you got leaves, don't throw them in the wetlands, right?
You know,
Right.
there's a reason that's in there, okay? The reason,
now we get the story.
Oh,
the
boy.
reason that's in there is there's a commission that Jeremy, Rick, myself, Reese Hutchinson, Monica, who else is there? That's about it, right? And, there's, you know, if you remember when she was campaigning, she had three priorities. It was flood, flood, flood. And so this was a follow-up to her to go out and, you know, trying to come up with some ideas of how to reduce the flooding when we have, let's put it this way, unusual rains. And so from, you know, and we're trying to do that. So one of the things we had was, you know, this to put in the leaves. Another one that we believe John Zagrodsky is going to put out. He's going to put out a little video that says, you know, when you see a storm drain in the road and it's packed full of stuff on top of it, and so it won't accept any water. Clean it out. You know, be a Connecticut Yankee.
Yeah.
You know,
Put your hands in
clean
there.
it, clean it out so the water goes
Get your hands
where it's supposed to go.
That's great.
And so, but it's sort of like, you know, don't call up Edge until, you know, don't come on.
Do yourself.
You know,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
let's be a little self-sufficient. You know, so that's the Connecticut Yankee in me too.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but so
Especially
he's
when you have
gonna,
them, like, right in
and
front of
so
your
we're
house.
actually gonna have a video of him reaching down and cleaning out.
Oh, good.
So that if the first selectman can do it, so can you.
Well, all
good.
these plantings that we're asking people to put in when we approve these applications, that helps too with the
Sure.
erosion control and flooding.
Absolutely.
You know, and giving up a fringe, a tiny bit of your lawn to.
Yeah, but we
put
want to do
more
is find out
plantings
where the downed trees are. I know, I have to give compliments around where I-95 crosses Old Kings Highway South, where the post office was. David Genovese came, and there were a bunch of trees that had crossed the Goodwives there. And he, you know, somebody came in and pulled them off, et cetera, et cetera.
They pulled them out?
Yeah, they pulled them.
Because I asked him to do that, and he.
Yeah,
did it.
he pulled them out. The ones that fall parallel to the stream are still there. So I was like this.
Oh, so I'm glad to hear that.
So needless to say, I walked over to them and said, "Dad, do you have permission to do that?" They said, "No problem. I know
One other
somebody. I
thing.
know somebody."
I have to send it to you.
I know a guy.
It was actually
I know a guy.
hysterical. Jeremy and myself got interviewed by the 5th grade class at Oxford School about what you do. And there's a whole series of, I have to send it to you, what they wrote. They had 2 student interviewers.
Oh,
That's so cute.
And they had their questions all set up, and they did it by a Zoom call. It was actually very funny. They had good questions.
That's good.
They start off like, what do you do? And then, when do you get up? And what do you do? And, how do you do it? And all those.
was this for like their little like newspaper? or-
Yes,
Okay.
so they have a newspaper.
Beforehand?
No.
Okay.
So it was all, and some of them were doozies, right? But
That's great.
the last 10 minutes, they wanted those personal stuff about people in the city. So it was me and Jeremy. And then previously they did, like the health director, and they did somebody from the fire marshal's office, and they're really nice. But
Can't wait till
the
tomorrow.
last questions start off is, do you like Taylor Swift?
Person of the year.
You better have said
That
yes.
is
Well,
Because they're gonna hate you if you
well,
said no.
Put your
I
comments in
actually
fifth
said
grade.
yes, and I was explained how my daughter went to the Taylor Swift concert.
Oh, you-
and she
you
made
took
her
the
own
question.
outfit and all this other stuff. And Jerry goes, oh yeah, my daughter went too. And so we talked about this. And the other one wanted to
look back at
know.
Grace's.
Right.
And the other one wanted to know
I know. The
If
public's
we like-
hearing you, by the way. so-
if we liked Lincoln
Oh.
Park. I don't know if you know what Lincoln Park is. It's kind of a more edgy kind of.
Yeah.
I recognized who he was talking about. Jeremy had no idea what they were talking about. But
That's good.
I was a little fearful because when the story came out, it didn't say that I was a Taylor Swift fan. I was afraid I was going to have friendship bracelets with things from the 212-year-old students stalking me down and throwing friendship bracelets and sparkles at me. So
The personal side of government, I love it.
Anyway, can we have a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
And then I'll show you this.
Make a motion to
I'd
adjourn.
be happy to make a motion to adjourn our regular meeting of the Environmental Protection Commission of today's date.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, Channel 79.